Okay, so the main reason we're here today is insects. So I have this article. I'm going to come over. Which one of you girls is real comfortable with reading? You real comfortable with reading?
Can you read, Chrissy? Can you read for now?
So I want you to read this real loud for the whole group. I'll let a couple of you try it. Can you read that? Yeah, I'll let Mom help.
Where have all the insects gone? National Geographic.
No, that's good. Where have all the insects gone? We were talking about some of us being a little older on road trips. How many of you can remember when we used to go at this time of year in our car and we'd come back and the front of the vehicles would practically be coated with all these fascinating and large insects. You know, as a kid, I'd sit there and just go through the grill thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. But we don't have that anymore. We're not seeing that. And I wanted to pick this source because National Geographic is fairly respectable. I mean, it's not quite like the National Enquirer or Facebook if you want to get the truth on something. So we know that insects are crashing. Well, is that bad or good? That's a question to you guys. Good or bad?
Depends on who it is.
It's bad. Yeah.
If it's roaches, it's good.
Right.
Yeah, it depends if it's roaches or,
I'd be happy.
my gosh, mosquitoes or house flies. But overall, the crash is bad. And why would it be bad? What do insects do for us besides give us disease?
What do insects do? Remember they pollinate?
Mm-hmm.
Can you
They
tell
feed
them?
the birds.
They feed the birds. That's pretty important, especially if you're really into understanding, and it's too complex to get into right now, but there's a really cool relationship between our migratory and nesting thrushes, warblers, etc., and the timing of when moths and butterflies are laying eggs and the caterpillars are emerging. Like on this cottonwood, putting those holes in the leaves. So there's like this little arms race between the trees, the insects that feed on the trees, and then the birds that feed on these insects. And it's really cool, and that might be the subject of another program to explain it, because it involves a little bit of chemistry, a little bit of biochemistry. So yeah, the birds. What else do insects do for us? Pollination, very good. How much is our food supply and the rest of the world's food supply, how much of that depends on pollination? And by whom? How many of you know that the honeybee is a non-native insect? Yeah, that's so surprising, isn't it? We had over 550 species of our own bees in this continent, probably a little over 200 in the state of Ohio. And some of them do a better job than the honeybee at pollinating plants like tomatoes and blueberries. They're better adapted to it. Orchard bees just do wonderful in my little apple trees and peach trees. I love to see the little blue orchard bees. But even the honeybee is important, but we're losing it. And why are we losing them? Well, when I was doing, when I went and started to do my graduate work in ecology, one of the things that I was looking at was the history of what our forests looked like I'm going to throw a great big word out here, Anglo-European settlement. And that means us people from England and Germany and Austria. What did it look like prior to that? And then why did it change? Well, it changed because we brought a bunch of different stuff with us from Europe. And it caused the native plants and animals to lose ground because the European and Asian plants could out-compete them. So by 1966, this Dr. Gordon wrote, "Prairies dominated by big bluestem," which is what we have a really nice example of today, and we'll get into, have practically disappeared today. Of the 69 original species, more than 30 could not adapt to the field. So we had a prairie. Now, that's on the other side of the fence row. This area right here that's mowed, or right where we're standing, if you just let it grow up, it would be a field. And unfortunately, and I think that number, and Esther could probably account with me on this. She's worked with me with numerous ODNR type stuff. That there's probably less than maybe 30 native species in some of these fields anymore, far less. Most of what you see that you are comfortable with, well, Queen Anne's lace, native or non-native. That's the white blooming flower over by the rocks. That's a non-native. It came from England. And guess what? You know what's really surprising? That is the carrot. The unrefined carrot that you can chomp on. I wouldn't, these get pretty woody. But that is the Dacus parata, same as the domestic carrot. So we lost a bunch of stuff. Now that could affect insects. And we'll get just a little bit into that. Actually, I think that's where I wanted to go right now. So how could that affect insects? Well, one of the things we're going to look at today is butterflies. And if we're lucky to find some dayfly moths, and hopefully you're going to catch them in your nets. So what do butterflies and moths depend on? How do they survive? What do they need to eat at first?
Their host plant. The host.
Excellent. And the key adjective there would be host. So what does host plant mean? So I'm a mommy butterfly, and I've got to lay eggs somewhere. I've already met daddy butterfly, so I gotta lay eggs. My caterpillars, well, let me ask you guys, I bet you two right there know. What plant does the caterpillars of the monarch require?
Milkweed.
Milkweed. Milkweed is a host plant. The milkweed, the monarch, won't do very well on this plant, which is Queen Anne's lace. But we do have another type of butterfly, and Lord, I think they're crashing too, because I've seen 3 or 4 already this morning, called the black swallowtail, that uses that plant. So that means the little caterpillar. What's your favorite food?
Corn.
Okay, corn. Pretty cool. What's your favorite food? Apples? So if you was a caterpillar, you would lay eggs on an apple tree, and that's all you would eat. You would lay eggs on a corn plant, and that's all you would eat. And that's what we mean by host plant. So now, once the caterpillar finishes eating all that stuff, what's next? What do they do next in their life?
Cocoon.
Okay, you're right. They go into a cocoon, and then they come out of the cocoon
And turn into butterflies.
and turn into butterflies. Good job, guys.
Yes.
Good job. Now we call that complete metamorphosis. And once you become butterflies, what do you need to survive? So you can lay eggs and have baby caterpillars. What do you need to find? All animals have to have a source of energy, right? So where do you get your energy?
Nectar?
Nectar. So you have to have nectar and you have to have water. And those things you can survive, hopefully not too many predators. Now let's talk about dragonflies for a minute. So what do dragonflies and butterflies have in common? This would be an example of a female widow skimmer.
They have in common wings.
They have in common wings, 2 sets of wings. So if they have wings, they can both do fly. Okay. How do caterpillars and dragonflies differ? I'm going to show you. Everybody knows what a caterpillar looks like. And where does it grow up on? In land or water? In land? Take a look at this. These are baby dragonflies. Here, let's give you guys a good look. Yeah, those are some big, mean-looking guys. And believe me, they do bite.
I did not even know. I think I might smack one at a barn.
These come off my pond, and where you find them is aquatic vegetation, stems of bulrushes, sedges. The larvae, so they go through complete metamorphosis like a butterfly. This is their larva. Only difference is they don't eat plants on land. They eat other animals, up to and including baby fish and each other, because they're really, really mean and they're really hungry underwater. So they have the first part of their lifestyle underwater. And then when they get ready to change into an adult, they don't make a chrysalis. They simply crawl up a stem like a bulrush or sedge, hang there, and like I shared with Rick and Clay earlier, hope the frog does not see them, or the Virginia rail or whatever else, and then they make a little small slit in their back, and the adult dragonfly emerges, has to sit there for a while, like the butterfly, pump out its wings. Now, the one big difference between the butterfly and the dragonfly's entire life, it eats meat. Hamburger, steak, pork chops, in the form of other insects, its entire life. And they do a great service to us because they are great on mosquitoes. But the caterpillar faces challenges on land as it grows. Insecticides, loss of habitat, loss of host plants, predators, basically parasitic wasps. These guys face problems in their environment. In fact, some species can only live where the ponds are fishless.
The purple martins seem to really like them too. The birds.
All the adult dragonflies?
They have the white houses. My neighbor has those, and if one of those comes in the territory, gone.
You know, they're wonderful flyers, and I could talk on an entire program just about them. I won't. Here is a little bit of a picture of their life cycle. The larva stage. And you're right, birds pick them off.
Yep.
But they have another insidious threat that I want to talk about. There are two species of odonatans. We have the smaller skinny damselflies. This will be the last part of the thing too, and we can hit the dusty trail. You guys see that tail looks like little feathers? Now you didn't see any of those in the jar. These are the little damselflies. They, like us, have to breathe. Now a caterpillar on land, jumping on a tree leaf, got little spiracles, little openings inside. It can simply pull oxygen in through them, and it can breathe and eat and move. These guys have to absorb oxygen out of the water, similar to what a fish does through its gills, only through these little feathered ends. Now that's the damselflies, and you should catch them them day. They're really little. And you really, when you do catch them, I'm going to be really interested in getting them out of the net and photograph them, because I have to take them really close photographs of those home and then go through a key before I can post them. This is what you were looking at times. Arthur and I don't get along too good. This is what you was looking at in one of the vials, the dragonfly larvae. They actually have to breathe through their body. The correct term is anus. They have to absorb oxygen there through this rich capillary bed, which means they don't have a whole lot of surface area. So having said that, what is one of the challenges these guys have to face that's man-made? Pollution. So these are usually indicators of pretty good water. And then another thing too, by the way, the dragonfly and the mosquito serves as dragonfly candy, both at pupa level and the larval level. I think any questions on dragonflies and damselflies, we're going to catch them. You guys are going to transfer them to the nets. We'll get masks on. I'm going to take the camera and try to get a photograph. Use your books to try to identify who we have. One thing on dragonflies, they see extremely well. They see a lot better than we do. And there's different reasons for that. I won't get into the biology of that, but it's really cool what they do. And by the way, it's really cool, we're learning their wiring on prey intercept. They actually sort of program to watch the prey move, and they fly to where they think it's going rather than to chase it. similar to what a good quarterback, wide receiver does. But when you do try to net them, if you go from the front, those purple martins will have a hard time catching some of them at times. The best way to do is come from behind them. They're easier to get from behind. So if you see one perched, they're starting to fly now. I'm watching one right out there. But for another 10, 15, 20 minutes, they may be perching. So come from behind them when you get them. All right, I think we're ready to go.